Good morning and welcome to Creative Marketing TV. My name is Susan Joy Schlief and I'm really pleased to have you here with us today. I have a very special guest today, my Hangout mentor, Virginia Parsons, and she's here to talk about how live stream branding and promotion strategies can help you grow your business or practice. Welcome, Virginia.
Hi, Susan. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me. This is my passion, so I love to talk about it.
Oh, great. And I'm really excited to have you on. I had one of my other Hangout mentors was my first guest last year, and now you're my first guest for this year. So it's really fun to have you here. Today, Virginia is going to talk about, like I said, live stream branding, which is something that she has been doing with Hangouts and has been adding other other live streaming platforms as well. And Virginia, why don't you tell us a little bit to get started about how you became an expert in this and why people should listen to what you have to say about it?
That is a great question, Susan. Why should people listen to me? Well, I'll tell you what, I guess when you latch onto something that you're passionate about and you put, your effort into it 7 days a week, and you strive to find the very best ways that you can express yourself, there is a reason to pay attention to me. I've been doing Hangouts almost as long as Hangouts has been around. And believe me, they have evolved. And when I first started doing Hangouts-on-Air as my preferred platform for live streaming, and now there's many others I also really love, but still Hangouts-on-Air as my preferred platform, I was actually a coach. I was a hypnotherapist life coach, and I've been doing that for 25 years. I had a brick and mortar business, and people came to my office. Now, as my reputation grew as an expert in that area, people started to want to work with me from around the country. Well, that's not really practical, is it, to come across the country to work with someone in their brick and mortar office? And so I discovered Hangouts-on-Air as a great alternative to people having to come into the office itself. So what I did was close down the office. I thought, this is silly. I don't need this office anymore. I don't need the overhead. And I can reach so many more people live with the Hangout platform. So then also I just discovered the advantages of Hangouts-on-Air, that you could do a private coaching session that no one else would be privy to. You could record it and they could refer back to it. I love the idea that I could reach now globally rather than, in my own backyard. And so I just took to it with a passion. And I think I've just gone beyond what most people have done with Hangouts-on-Air to make it just, top quality production, number one. And my passion is to provide great content, which is what I think why people come to our shows. If we provide good quality content, actionable strategies and tips that they can use in their own lives, that you've got the best of all worlds. So I hope that gives you enough information on why I do what I do and why I think people might want to pay attention to me. I have been producing my own show, the Inspirational Businesswoman Show, for a year and a half now. And in addition to doing my coaching clients and also training using Hangouts-on-Air.
Thank you, Virginia. I didn't really know that you had used it so much for your coaching practice. So that's really interesting to me to hear how you used it that way. Were there any roadblocks you faced in trying to figure that out, or unique things that you've had to figure out on your own?
Oh, well, good question. Yes, of course. It's technology. And, I wouldn't say that I was necessarily a techie person, but when I really became passionate about using this tool for delivering my coaching, for delivering my courses, of which you took a couple of my courses, when I became passionate about that, I said I can overcome the technology, because that really was for me the stumbling point. And also because when I started using Hangouts-on-Air, it was a new platform. Like there's several other new platforms we have out there. But when it was a new platform, it was glitchy. There were things that would go wrong. And so that made it, a little bit frustrating in the beginning. But now the platform is really stabilized. I don't really have any problems with it anymore. So for someone who's looking to start to use and embrace this Hangout-on-Air platform themselves, they're coming in at a great time because the stability is there. But with any new technology, you just got to roll with the punches and not worry about it. If you get kicked off, you just get back on, right?
Yeah, that's so true. And, that's one of the things that I hear people say all the time, that, oh, Hangouts are really terrible. You should just pay for GoToWebinar because Hangouts just aren't reliable. And I try to tell them it's just as reliable as GoToWebinar for me. But I think people tried it early on and then they haven't tried it again since because they thought it was terrible. So
isn't that a shame?
That's
their loss, isn't it? It's their loss.
Yeah.
I'd say come back and give it another try.
Yeah.
Yeah. GoToWebinar has glitches all the time. I've been on lots of them. And to me, GoToWebinar just doesn't quite cut the mustard when it comes to getting your message across and making connections with your audience and increasing engagement. It's just not as good.
The connection is definitely better on Hangouts. I agree. There are a few things I miss about GoToWebinar, but that's another discussion. Let's switch gears now a bit and move into what our audience is dealing with. And they're, most of the audience for this show and yours, I think too, is entrepreneurs and professionals and small business owners. What do they need to know about the latest developments, both in Hangouts and in the other live streaming platforms? And let's start with, what exactly is live streaming?
Oh, such a great question. Live streaming is broadcasting. It's what we're doing right now. You can think of it as web TV, but it's live. It's a live streaming broadcast that goes out, and you decide where it goes out to. It depends on the platforms. When you're talking about Hangouts on Air, you have total control as to who may see your live stream. So we're live streaming right now, and it is going out to the people that you have invited to this event. So we call this a live streaming event within Google+. Now, there's also live streaming right through YouTube, and Google and YouTube are intricately connected. Google owns YouTube, and when you set up a Hangout on Air, it's just so wonderful because it automatically gets broadcast also right on your YouTube channel and then recorded, so that the recording, now that we've gone live, this is recording, and it's not only live here on G+, it's live on YouTube, and it will be stored on YouTube as a recording after the broadcast. Now, if you want to do live streaming on one of the newest, hottest platforms out there, it's called Blab. Now, Blab, B-L-A-B, just the way it sounds, is a Twitter platform, just like Hangouts on Air is a Google platform. Now, on Blab, you have no choice. Anybody out there can do what they call lurk. They can lurk and watch what you're doing. You have no way to make it a private event. You have no way to control the audience. Anyone who wants to, once you click the live broadcast, or once you basically go on to Blab, there's no way to go into the green room in Blab, by the way. In Blab, you're live. As soon as you start the production, you're live. You're out there for the world to see, which is fine. Just be aware of that so that you don't do any chit chat and you wouldn't want the world to hear. Also with Blab, you can go ahead and record it so that you have the recording that you can then download to your YouTube channel. You also get the audio from it. So it's nice that you can record these live platforms. Now, another one is Periscope. Periscope is also a Twitter platform. And Periscope is not done through your computer, ever. It is only done through your cellular device or your mobile device. So for Periscope, you just pick up your phone and do a start broadcast. And the start broadcast in Periscope is the same thing as it is with Blab, as far as anyone who sees your broadcast may lurk and watch and make comments. So don't think of lurking as necessarily negative. It's just that they can watch and see what you're doing, and whether or not they decide to engage with you is totally up to them. On Periscope, you can ask for hearts, which are saying, I like what you're saying. On Blab, you can ask for props, and those are little hands going up, and you just tap to say that you like what's going on. And in Hangouts-on-Air, we actually just ask for comments, don't we, Susan? We really want people to engage and comment. So we're not looking for hearts or props. We're just looking for engagement, questions, and involvement with the broadcast.
Yeah.
Now, you can be involved in the other broadcasts as well, but they have those other little hearts and props you can also do.
And is that partly because they don't have a way to enter comments for the viewer?
Yes, they do. On Blab, there is a place to enter comments and questions, so that's always good. And there is a place also as a viewer on Periscope to type in comments.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, they seem to have a little bit of a different atmosphere, what I've seen.
Well, lack of privacy for one. And obviously, since I went to using Hangouts-on-Air first, I have total control. I can make my Hangout-on-Air totally private, meaning only the person I give the link to, the email to, has access to it, can watch it either live or in replay mode. I can make it unlisted. When it's unlisted, only the people I give the link to may watch it. So it's a little bit different than private. Private, they also have to have their email registered with me, and I can make it public. So for me, the flexibility of Hangouts-on-Air is so much better. And another thing, Susan, I'd like to make a distinction, because I think it's hard for people to understand this, that there is Hangouts-on-Air, which is what we are on right now, is a live stream broadcast that is also being recorded onto YouTube. Then there is something called Hangouts. Hangouts and Hangouts-on-Air are not the same. Hangouts are a video chat. So
Right.
They're also a form of live streaming, aren't they?
They
But
are.
they're only a video chat between you and the people that you invite into your video chat, which could be up to 10 people total in the video chat. And that is also the same number of people you can have in a Hangout-on-Air. But a video chat called a Hangout is never recorded. You have no option to record it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the distinction when people get confused and say, oh, I've got this Hangout app on my phone, but I can't do a Hangout-on-Air. You cannot do a Hangout-on-Air from your mobile device.
Right. You know, that's interesting, because that Hangout app has caused me problems before. I had a guest coming on who happened to be out of town. She was in a hotel room, so she was using her Android phone instead of a computer to try and join the Hangout. And instead, she launched the Hangout app and started her own Hangout, and then never made it into mine. So it was very confusing.
Yeah, so you can actually join in on a Hangout-on-Air from a mobile device, from your iPad, but you just have to be given the link to join it.
Right.
You cannot start a Hangout-on-Air from a mobile device.
Right. So, Virginia, what are some of the tools that you've discovered that help to make this live streaming experience even better for small business owners?
Well, as I said earlier, I sort of went beyond the norm. I was looking at a lot of Hangout-on-Air broadcasts, as I also look at Blabs and Periscopes. And soon we'll all be looking at Facebook Live as well, another streaming platform that's making its debut, slowly creeping out there. And I felt that I understand that they're a great place to chat and get together. I have no problem with that. But when you're doing an actual broadcast or a presentation, I think it's important to be as professional as you can. So some of the tools that I started to work with that were assisting me in branding, where what you see here down below is a custom lower third overlay. And I think that that's really critical to set yourself apart, to really distinguish yourself, to get your logos up there, your colors up there, anything that's to do with your brand. You want it consistent across everything. You want it consistent across your website. You want it consistent in your email blasts. You want it consistent in your broadcasting, and in, of course, all your social media areas that you are engaged in. So the first tool that I used to create lower thirds that were custom, and they're called a custom transparent overlay. I don't want to get people too gone on the techie part, but what it does is give you that lower third in a customized manner, and then you don't have to have a background like I have. That's another tool, but start with a custom lower third. I use instant video presence as one of the tools that I use to create custom lower thirds. Now you also can create a lower third right in a Hangout-on-Air. No problem with that. It's done through the Hangout toolbox. It's just not as customized. You don't have as many options for customizing it as you do if you use something like instant video presence. I also use another software tool called Youzign, Youzign. And that one is also can create some great branding for your lower third, and also images for all of your different social media platforms. So the banners for your shows, the headers for your social media sites, they've got all the dimensions in there. It makes it so much easier. And the third tool, so I hope you're all taking notes, write these down. The third tool that is free, because those first two are not free, although they're not expensive. But the third tool is free. I use it all the time for creating my banners for my shows, and that's called Canva, Canva.com. And I know you know about all these things, Susan, but I don't know that your viewers did. So that's why I wanted to know.
Possibly not. I've talked about Canva and actually demonstrated it on one of my episodes before, but I agree, it's a great tool.
Yeah. So those are three to start with. Then we can get into the more sophisticated aspects of using a green screen, which is what I have behind me. I have a very lovely office, and I often will just broadcast from my office. It depends what I'm doing. But I do use green screen technology, and then put a scene behind it. If I click on this other one here, you'll see that my background now changes to a studio, and this is what I use to broadcast when I'm doing my show. So green screen is kind of fun, but it's certainly not necessary. You're muted, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. I know I haven't gotten too much into the green screen yet. I don't know, I'm just not a big fan of it, I guess, but I do want to try it and see if I can find a background that I really like. And I know that you enjoy it, and it's become part of your signature look now that you have all those different backgrounds. So that's great.
Yes, it is. That is part of the branding, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the background you see here, by the way, is a beautiful image of a lake. I live near Lake Tahoe. I'm from Reno, Nevada, and I just love to be reminded when I'm working my office that lake is only about 30 minutes from here.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I like that. What about how do you promote your show? I know you do a little video usually every week to talk about the guest that's coming. And can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I do. I promote my show in a lot of different ways. I do a preview video, or what I call a trailer, and it's very easy to create a preview trailer. All you have to do is record something using a Hangout-on-Air. It's really simple. You can just jump on a Hangout-on-Air, and again, because you have the option to have it not be to have it be private, to have it not be going public, you can just start a Hangout-on-Air with yourself and then record what the show is about. Just make it 1 to 1.5 minutes max of what's coming up and why they should want to watch, and that helps people get more information. Now, when I do a preview trailer, I usually use a tool, another one of my tools called Animoto, A-N-I-M-O-T-O. There's a free version of it where you can do a preview trailer for 30 seconds, or I pay for it. I have the premium edition because I make trailers every week for my show. And those create a short video, basically a video clip. And I just use that for letting people know what the hot topics of the show are and why they might want to make sure they get there.
Yeah, and you've seen my trailer, and I know a lot of my audience has too, that I developed that one in Camtasia Studio with a little animated background, and I bring in the photo of the guest for that week and the description of the topic. I don't usually do voiceover with it because I just keep it, it's a very short video with music background, and it's pretty easy to update it every week with the new information. So.
Well, yeah, and I don't do any audio of my own voiceover with my trailers. I do just the words, and music is in the background, but the words are just, the text on there with the music.
Oh, okay. Was because you were talking about recording it on a Hangout, but people could do it that way. They could do it with narration. So
yeah, I think that I'm trying to help people understand they don't have to be as techie as I have gotten.
Right.
Even though it's possible to get techie when you're a grandma, you still can do it, right, Susan?
Yes.
Yes. But I want people to know that there are simple ways to get a preview trailer out there. Yeah. So I think it's powerful because then what I do is go and embed that trailer all over the place. I upload it to Facebook. Of course, it's on my G+ page. And I send it out over to LinkedIn. I send tweets to about it. So it's available for people to see throughout social media. Oh, and I also even attach it to Pinterest. There's a very easy way to do that because once I take and complete my trailer, or if you've taken and completed your trailer just doing a Hangout, it's also on YouTube, right?
Right.
So there's buttons on YouTube. You go there and you can just post it out all over so people can see the trailer.
Yeah. I haven't started putting mine on Pinterest, and I should do that. Thank you for that. I haven't got that on my list. I need to add it.
It's real quick and simple.
Yeah. And I think one of these months I'm going to do an episode about Facebook video because now Facebook has changed, so they don't want you just putting the video from YouTube. So I've created a separate video to put on Facebook with different settings and everything. But
yeah, I don't put my I do not put my videos from YouTube on Facebook. My Animato videos are stored on my computer. And or in the cloud. If you don't have room on your computer, store them in the cloud. And from there, I just post them. They say upload video, and I just click on the upload button and pull it right off of my computer.
Yep. Great. Well, I know we want to talk a little bit about how to leverage those assets once you have done the recordings. If whether it's an interview or whether it's something that you're teaching. How can people use that recorded asset once it's finished as part of their content marketing? And what are some of the things that can be done with it?
There are so many things that can be done with it. It's the most powerful asset you have because there's multiple ways you can leverage it. And what I'm going to do is just bring up a quick PowerPoint on this one because I think it's really important for people to get this and take the notes here. So I've just brought this up for you. So what are the different ways that you can take your assets and turn them into something else? Well, one of the things I recommend that my people do is make a series of what I call quick tips. So if you are thinking about how can I start doing this, but I don't want to do a show, right, Susan? A show is kind of intimidating, isn't it? Yeah.
Definitely. I would not start with doing a show. No,
don't start with doing a show. And I didn't start with doing a show. I started with doing a series of quick tips. And guess what? Again, I went live, but I went live with myself. There was no one else watching when I recorded these quick tip assets. I just went on a Hangout-on-Air with myself and I started talking about a tip. Now, I love that tips can be anywhere between really a minute and 10 minutes max because people are busy, right? And so you want to make them consumable. So take them and turn them into a quick tip series then. And you can just, again, post those all out over the internet. So I really recommend that's a great place to start and get comfortable with Hangout technology.
I love that idea because I tell people always to do quick tip videos and do a whole series of them. I just never thought about recording them as Hangouts when you're doing that.
Yeah,
And they
it
don't
just,
even have to have an audience. Like you said, they can just record it on their own and then post it it gets posted to YouTube. So,
that's right.
yep, I
And
love
then
it.
what do we do to leverage these tips? Well, what I did to leverage one of a series of tips I did, which I think was a series of 5 tips plus an introduction and a final recording on pulling it all together, was I created my first ebook, 5 Top Strategies to Make Money with Hangouts on Air. So I took these tips, I had them transcribed, and didn't take long to have them transcribed. I actually used a tool that I have on my own computer that did it in literally seconds, transcribed each of them. And then I turned them into an ebook. And I already had images that I was referring to when I was doing the tips. Something that I do with Hangouts is use transparent overlays. It's just something else you can do in a Hangout-on-Air. And they look like little slides at my side, not like what you're seeing here. This is more advanced technology, but it was simple. It was something I did right within the Hangout toolbox. And so I already had those images also prepared. They were part of my slide deck in the Hangout. So I just pulled those images off and I threw those into the book along with the transcribed statements that I'd made. And there I had the book. So it was that easy. Very quick and easy to leverage your time doing a series of quick tips. It's really one of my favorite ways to leverage it.
That's great. Do you have more?
Yeah, I'm going to go through a couple more on this slide. That's why I pulled this one up for you. Create trainings and courses. Now, the trainings and courses that you've done with me, Susan, they're all created in Hangouts on Air, every one of them. And I put together PowerPoints, but unlike doing a training in a GoToWebinar, where yes, now at least they've got it so you can be on screen while you're doing a PowerPoint presentation. It's not quite the same as what I'm doing here, where I still have the visual, you're getting the tips that you can take notes on, and I'm still here able to really connect with you. In a screen on a GoToWebinar, the image is off to the side of the webinar, and it's just not as easy to make that connection with the audience. So I do all of my trainings and courses on Hangouts on Air. Those can be turned again into a series of blasts, so to speak. You can take little parts of the training and put them out there as teasers or as preview of what they can get if they come inside and take a part of the training. And then don't forget about all the way you can create masterminds, seminars, workshops, what I call boot camps. All of these are something you can do within a Hangout on Air. So lots of leveraging ideas.
Yes, that's a great one. And then, of course, once those are recorded, they can also be transcribed and turned into a larger book, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Now, I guess I think I should add to this that I'm turning them all into podcasts as well.
Right.
So don't start to expand the possibilities, because you could do a series of quick tips and turn those all into a podcast. A podcast does not have to be an hour-long show. A podcast can be 10 or 15 minutes of information.
Yeah.
So use anything that you've got a knowledge base and passion for. Think about all the different medias that are out there that you can get this into. Turn it into articles. Put the information on your blog, whether or not it's a video blog or it is a written blog. Any of those will work. Same thing with if you decide to do a podcast with your assets from Hangouts. Are you going to make it an audio podcast or a video podcast? You can do both. So all of the different ways that you can reach people, whether it's through reading, audio, or visual, all can be created from the asset you start with, which is your Hangout production, your Hangout recording.
And then that all becomes part of building your brand, right? And getting your knowledge out there so that you become known as the expert with all this information.
That's right.
That's one of the things that I love about it.
How about you, Susan? How are you starting to use it in your own business?
Well, I am getting ready to turn mine into podcasts with your help. Virginia is offering a program that I signed up for where she's going to take my recorded Hangouts from last year and take the audio track from those and turn it into a podcast. So I'm excited about getting started with that. And mostly right now I've been using it just to build up the videos. And I'm actually thinking about creating a small book out of some of it and possibly getting some more like creative people that do project kind of graphic oriented things to get some of them on to demonstrate things and turning those into a paid course, with teaching different graphic techniques. But that's a project for later this year.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I love about it, because all you have to do is expand your mind into all the possibilities. And most people just think it's, a couple of people like this communicating with each other.
Yeah.
But it's so much more than that. And when you can start to grasp how much more it provides for you. And you're also, again, if you decide to use Blab as your preferred platform, which a lot of people are doing, it's the same thing. You're going to get the recording. You just it doesn't automatically download to YouTube because it's not a Google product, but you have the opportunity to download both the audio and the video, either to YouTube or to your own computer or out into the cloud, and those all become assets.
Right. And Periscope too. I know several people that are using that, and that they download the recordings and save.
Yeah, you need an extra tool to do it with Periscope.
Right.
It does not automatically. Well, yes, you can have it automatically recorded. I take that back down and download it to your phone or whatever device you're using to record it with.
Yeah. So, Virginia, if people want to learn more about your approach to how to brand all of this and how to use all of these assets, how can they find out more about the trainings that you offer?
Oh, they're all on my website, Susan, and they can go to Hangout Marketing U, and that U is with the letter U, .com. And there's a whole section there on courses and trainings and coaching that I provide. So they're definitely welcome to go there. And I'd also love to offer them to take advantage of my book that I created out of my Hangouts. If they're interested in that, they can go to hangouticome.com. Hangouticome.com, and they can pick up that free, you'll get the video, so you get to see me on camera. That was done about 1.5 years ago. So I'm even better today on camera than I was then. So you just start from where you're at. And once you get comfortable with doing a recording and connecting with your camera and just being yourself, it really all will flow so much more for you. Just got to get in there and get started.
Yeah. And I'll have Virginia also put a note under the recording on YouTube and on the Google Plus page for this, so that you can have a link there to get that book as well. Virginia, we need to get ready to wrap up here. Is there anything that I haven't asked you about live stream branding that you would like to bring out yet for our audience?
Yeah, there is one thing, and that is one of the reasons that I continue to prefer Hangouts-on-Air over Blab. And I have to say, like, Blab is the hottest thing going right now. And the reason a lot of people are gravitating toward Blab is because it's a little simpler technology than is Hangout-on-Air. But you don't have the same controls. You don't have the same ability to brand yourself over on Blab. So I find that it is secondary to my work with Hangouts-on-Air. And the reason being is because there's no way to have a lower third over on a Blab, whereas a Hangout-on-Air provides you the ability to have a lower third, which is part of your branding. Remember, we talked about you want to get that branding out there in as many places as possible.
Is that
So the
true
only
for
way to do
Periscope?
a lower third over on Blab that I know of is to use some more advanced programs. I use a program called XSplit, and that will put my lower third on Blab. Other people use a few other programs. I think ManyCam is one of them. I'm not familiar with all of them because I use XSplit. But that's one of the things to think about when you're on Blab, because your name, if you want people to come in the replay mode, which is where the majority of the people will see your broadcast, the majority will not get there live. They're too busy. So think about that. You want that lower third up there so that when they watch it in replay, they know who they're listening to. But in a Blab, once the live broadcast is over, you don't even know who the people are except for the person who produced it. And that's only because it's their channel. But otherwise, you don't know, because there's no way of identifying the person. There's no lower thirds, and their Twitter handle is even gone in the recording. I hope Blab fixes that. I think it's a big weakness of Blabs right now as far as branding yourself. So that's my final tip for everybody.
And is that true for Periscope as well, that the branding is missing?
Yeah, there's no branding on Periscope unless you do what I do with Periscope. And actually what I do is bring a Hangout-on-Air up, turn my Periscope on, and broadcast my screen in the Hangout.
Okay.
So that then people can get the branding. The other thing that I do is make sure at the beginning of Periscope that I have some kind of a thumbnail. Let's see what I've got a thumbnail on here right now. I don't have a thumbnail here, so I can't show you. Well, here's one. Here's a thumbnail. It's a follow me thumbnail. If I bring that up onto my computer and then I go ahead and I film it with my camera, with my phone like this, then you can at least start with a brand by using a thumbnail.
Okay. So you clearly have lots of great information about this, and unfortunately we need to wrap up. So if people want to get more information, they can follow you as Hangout Mentor or as Virginia Parsons, and they can...
Right here, there's all my follow me's, blab.im. Now the VEP Hypnocoach is what my old Twitter handle was, so that's why it's there. Same thing on Periscope, VEP Hypnocoach. Please follow me on Twitter. It is Hangout Mentor. Facebook, you can go to my Facebook page, Hangout Mentor, and also on YouTube, it is Virginia Parsons there.
Great. And they can go to Hangout Marketing U to get more information as well. Virginia, thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge and experience with us this morning. And it's been a real pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you, Susan. I've enjoyed it as well.